we're going to talk about some technology aspect to those transformations. All right. So how do you see, and do you use AI in Revolancer? How do you see AI influencing all the platforms that you're mentioning now? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just to preface this, my degree is in AI and robotics, but I wouldn't say that I'm, an expert in this field by any means. And also, I think my opinions on where AI is currently and where it will go in the short-term future are probably not quite like what most people think. So I'm happy to be proven wrong on that. But but essentially, in my view, AI is definitely already having an impact on the freelancing space, but I personally, in the short to medium term, don't see it so much as like replacing people, but more as like a tool that people can use. Because ultimately, something like ChatGPT is very good at writing, but it doesn't. It's essentially just a very advanced kind of predictive text algorithm that has trained on 5 million web pages or so. So it's very good at writing things that sound coherent, but ultimately it can't fact check itself. So, for example, they tried, somebody tried to use ChatGPT to do a specialist exam for a certain medical qualification. I can't remember what it was. But essentially, there were 3 questions, and it was essentially giving it a list of symptoms. And then whoever was taking the test had to attempt to diagnose the patient based on that list of symptoms. ChatGPT had a go at that. It did the first question, got it right. Did the second question, got it wrong. And then for the third question, it completely fabricated a made-up disease to diagnose the patient. So that's just kind of an example. So, just using ChatGPT to generate content is, a bit hit or miss. In a lot of cases, it's a hit for sure, but it can make mistakes. So ultimately, I think the best use for something like ChatGPT at the moment is to sort of save you time in writing about a subject that you know something about, but ultimately you're kind of doing the final fact-checking and editing. And in that way, I think that it's helping freelancers who would otherwise have to write a lot of content themselves. They can use this to automate a lot of it and then save time. So it's ultimately a tool to help them work more efficiently for the time being. I think, thinking much longer term, is it going to pose a threat? I think in a lot of ways, yes, it is. But I think that the timeline of that is a lot longer than most people think, in my opinion. Yeah.
You answered 5 of my questions, okay, already. That's fabulous. Speaking of ChatGPT, ChatGPT will not be able to formulate what you just did, Karl, in few sentences, really, because you answers how AI and automation will affect freelancers, okay? You already answered that we don't see replacement coming anytime soon. I agree with you, by the way. I agree, because as we're all practicing with ChatGPT, of course, we find amazing discoveries there. Oh, this is relevant. But absolutely, I read everything what I see there, and I have to critically think about it, all right? Is this plausible? Is this not? Is this too broad? Is this something worth even for me spending time on? All right. So, and of course, we know those models will be evolving, so we will see bright future. But yes, speaking of freelancers, how do they feel now? I mean, are they all as confident in you and I right now?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, I think from what I've seen is people kind of fall into one of 2 camps. So either they, don't really know about ChatGPT, or if they know about it, they kind of maybe haven't used it so much and are more kind of just scared of it because of the media rhetoric around it. And then on the other hand, there is a set of freelancers who have realized that this is actually quite useful for helping them do their work more efficiently and use it quite actively. So in my, from what I've seen, it tends to kind of be one or the other with those 2 camps.